House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has launched a formal impeachment inquiry into President Trump. It comes after the president admitted to asking the president of Ukraine to investigate Democratic frontrunner Joe Biden. The president denies any wrongdoing and says that he will release a transcript of that call today. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff tweeted yesterday that the whistleblower who filed the complaint would like to speak to his committee and that they're working to make that happen. And Congressman Adam Schiff is joining me now from Capitol Hill. Thank you so much for joining us, Congressman. So I suppose, the first question is, we heard what the president admitted that he asked the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden, that he had this conversation, but we don't know the details of the phone call. Are you jumping the gun a little bit by pursuing this impeachment inquiry without knowing what exactly was said?
No, and you can see how much the standards have been lowered for this president when you consider that a president who has already admitted that he has pressured a foreign government to manufacture dirt on his opponent, even as he has withheld vital military assistance for that country, that we would need more than that. So yes, we want the transcript. We want to see what evidence it contains, if indeed it is a transcript and not merely a favorable summary produced by somebody in the White House. But the fact that the president has already admitted to using the pressure and power of his office to get a foreign country once again to intervene in our election, that is all we needed to know to proceed down the path of a formal impeachment inquiry.
Is there a concern? Because, the American public have been hearing the word impeachment in various forms, whether it's articles of or inquiry. This is the beginning of a very long road. If this does not end in an impeachment, is there a concern that Democrats are going to look like they're off on a fishing expedition? After all, there are a number of investigations already taking place, and many people are wondering, where's the end?
Let's not lose sight of what's at stake here. What the president is doing now is threatening our national security. The fact that he would use military assistance to a country invaded by Russia as leverage to get help in his re-election campaign is not something that can be tut-tutted or swept under the rug. It needs to be investigated, and if necessary, the president may need to be brought up on an article of impeachment on that, if not other conduct. The risk here, rather, of not acting is that the president take the message from his earlier effort to get help from a foreign nation, that is Russia, that he's immune from the law, that he's immune from repercussion, that there's no accountability. That, to me, is the greater risk, particularly when you consider that this phone call took place the day after Mueller talked about how Donald Trump and the Trump campaign invited, made full use of, never reported foreign help in the last election, that after that testimony, after 2 years of that turmoil that he brought about, he would once again be seeking foreign help in yet another election, now using the power of his office, was not something that could be ignored, and rather, I think, requires us to go down this path.
Congressman, I want to ask you about this whistleblower complaint. What does it mean to you that the Senate unanimously voted to have the whistleblower complaint released to the Intel Committee? What do you think that says?
Well, it says to me that the Senate Republicans realize that they have no choice here, and they've got to uphold the whistleblower system. I wish I could say the same of Kevin McCarthy and House Republicans that are still resisting this. But you can certainly count on Kevin McCarthy to do the right thing after he's tried everything else, and apparently not even then, unless he gets the permission of the president. But I'm pleased that at least one House has thus far spoken out in favor of the whistleblower process and the clear letter of the law. It's my hope that the House will do the same thing today, but the Republicans are certainly sending mixed signals.
You said that the whistleblower is eager to talk to your committee. What will you ask him, should you get a chance to speak to him?
Well, it's hard to say without having the substance of the complaint. But clearly, we're going to want to look at what the whistleblower knows, how the whistleblower knows it, what other witnesses the whistleblower can lead us to, what other documentary evidence may be out there. If indeed part of what the whistleblower has to say is about this call, what information he has about the call, and if it's not reflected completely in the transcript or the readout that we get from the White House, who else may have been on that call that can give us a more accurate understanding of what was said. So a whole host of questions, but really hard to identify without knowing whether it indeed even involves this call.
Yeah, you know, you kind of went between transcript and readout. What are you expecting to get from the White House?
Well, it's really hard to say. My understanding is that there generally is not a transcript. Now, if there's a recording, that's what we'd want. If there's a transcription, we would want to know who transcribed it. We'd want an opportunity to talk with them and find out whether it was sanitized. And my understanding is that often those that are taking the notes might be reluctant to include in those notes, in that readout, something that might be embarrassing to the president. Obviously, that's not going to cut it. But one thing we do know is this is a president who has a long pattern of obstructing investigations into his wrongdoing. So the idea that we might rely on the White House to give us the full transcript unadulterated is not one that any of us can abide by.
All right, Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So tomorrow, the Director of National Intelligence, Joseph McGuire, will be testifying in front of the House Intelligence Committee, and CBSN will be streaming that entire hearing live and have live coverage starting tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, so make sure you're watching.